So this is going to be really good for us to have one of the most preeminent minds in Healy, co-founder and quantum physicist, Dr. Martin, with us. And so I'm going to actually break this whole call up into several sections where we're going to cover the real essentials of Healy. So for those of us who are really getting started, we have lots of questions. We want to know all about the frequencies, what do they do for us, things like that. We're going to really have that chunk down into the beginning part of our call. And then we're going to progress step by step into more advanced information, because we have a lot of people here who are practitioners who have had experience with other biofeedback devices, and they have some really, really cool questions. So for those of you who really love that essential information, like how can this work for me, you're going to gain so much from this. And from those of you who are practitioners like myself, I'm 25 years in the health industry. I've got lots of questions. I don't think we're going to get through them all today, but we're going to do our best. Dr. Martin, thank you for being here and welcome to our call.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here. Dr. Martin, can you take us through your story so we can get to know you? Take us through your story with Healy, and then we'll get started right away into the questions.
Yeah, so basically what I did in my studies, I studied Master of Biomedical Engineering. So it's really a combination of medical things, so like what do we call it? Physiology and anatomy and so on. So all the medical stuff on the one side, then the chemical and biological stuff, so chemical, biochemical things, and then the engineering stuff, so mathematics, physics, and then engineering, biomedical engineering, and all this combined basically to engineer medical products with the knowledge of the science that's behind it, so medical science and of course biological science. So that's where I started, and then I was actually a physicist in radiotherapy. So I was a medical physics expert, how you call it in Germany. And so I learned everything about all the physics behind radiotherapy and everything that comes together with it. And at one point, I just realized that fighting fire with fire is not the way you fight diseases. So if you use radiotherapy, it's basically a palliative therapy. So you can fight the pain, but fighting the cancer with the radiotherapy is, let's say, quite difficult. So then I met Markus Schmieke and TimeWaver, and then basically out of this combination, I said, okay, there is someone who's actually searching for the root source of the cause of a disease, of what's behind it. So what is the emotional, what is the psychological, what is actually behind every disease. So that's the point where you actually have to search for the solution and not to try to fight the symptoms, but you have to find the root cause, and then you can find the solution. And that was something that I immediately said, that makes sense. So that's and then we had all the big TimeWaver devices with TimeWaver frequency, TimeWaver original device, and all the TimeWaver technology behind it. And at one point, our engineers came to us, and they had a small version of a TimeWaver basically. And then we said, okay, that was the vision long time ago. The vision was make this available to everyone. And then we jumped on their newly engineered device, and we made it 100 times more complex. And that's what you're holding in your hand very soon, and that's Healy. So basically, we combined all the technologies we had, all the knowledge of our practitioners, and combined it in one very tiny device. Of course, it's not the sophisticated thing that a professional use with the big devices, but it combines all the knowledge, and it combines all the knowledge on a basis that the end user can actually participate and use it in favor of himself. So you don't need a fancy therapist and everything around it to just get the small things out of your way, basically. And that's what we want to have for everyone, that everyone is able to get the small things out of his way. And that's how I came to Healy.
That is so fantastic. I love that story. I love hearing it every time. How your engineers took the big TimeWaver and brought that down into this tiny little device. And you said something that actually leads perfectly into the next question, which is for daily general use, the gold frequencies. Is that what that was developed for? And can you take us through those gold frequencies and what we can expect when we use them?
So basically, the gold frequencies are neatly combined together by Nunu Nina. So what are gold frequencies? Gold frequencies are basically all kinds of frequencies and their connection to something that stands behind the frequency, that's connected to the frequency. For example, you have frequencies that stimulate, for example, the liver, or that stimulate your kidneys and so on. And all those combinations of frequencies between reasons or symptoms or whatever with the frequencies. Those are called basically gold frequencies, and those are get expanded bit by bit also nowadays, because there are new things that are coming up, and those frequencies we use to build the third block of the Healy programs, basically. So the Healy programs are basically can be a combination. So sometimes it's 2 blocks, sometimes 3 logical blocks, and 1 block is, for example, the real time. Real time means that you have a frequency bandwidth from 0 to 1 kilohertz, for example, and then you analyze with the quantum sensor every 10 seconds which frequency is the right one for you. Then apply it for 10 seconds, then analyze the next frequency, and then apply it. So you have a real-time analysis of the frequencies you actually need. The next block is called resonance. So resonance does the same thing. So you have a bandwidth from 1 to 1 kilohertz, and there you analyze which one is the right frequency, and then you apply it, but then you analyze how long do you need it. So you analyze the progress from -100 to +100. So that's most of people get really confused when they see it the first time. Why is it minus and so on? So minus means you just need the frequency a longer time, and plus means, okay, you're almost done with this frequency, your body wants a new one. And when you're at 95, you get a new one. So that's the resonance part. So that are logical steps in the frequency programs in the Healy. And the third step is the most important. It's called indications. So there you basically choose as a therapist, or the one who created those programs, he chose, so a practitioner, he or she chose the frequencies out of this gold frequencies. So only the packs that are relevant for this program. So not 140,000 or something. No, just a few hundred, maybe some more. And out of those frequency, now you analyze which one is the one that's best for you, and then you also analyze how long do you need it. So the progress of this program. And that makes Healy unique. So you actually can do a very, very specific analyzes what frequencies you need and then apply them. So that's what stands behind the gold frequencies.
Okay, so there are these various levels of being able to use it. So from what I understand, there is a personal interaction with Healy in the Gold and Healy Plus in those first 120 programs. When you get the resonance is actually going to feed back to you and give you more information, in essence, actually helping you understand which programs to run and for how long. Is that correct?
Yes, so with the basically Heal Advisor Analyze app, which you get with the resonance. So this app actually uses the core technology of TimeWaver. So that's the analysis in the information field. So what can you analyze in the information field? You can analyze basically everything, but you need the right database. And one of the databases or the databases we included are the programs, so the program pages and the program groups. So basically what you get is, for example, the gold cycle programs. Then you analyze out of the gold cycle programs which has the highest resonance with you, and then you see, okay, maybe it's pure, and then you can immediately start your Healy and open the pure program and apply it. So that's a very funny story from our chief content manager. A funny thing, because he had someone in Cypern where he lives sometime, and this person was not so very healthy. And then he analyzed which program was the right one, and he analyzed a few programs, and this person really got better in a very short amount of time. So that was really, I mean, if he's a very, very, how do you call it, rational person. So if you hear someone like that say, yeah, it worked, then you are okay, then it worked. So that's what I experienced there. And of course, you can also analyze in bug flowers and so on. So which one you actually need, so what your body needs now. And of course, you can do the vibration. So you're sending basically this positive information in the field back. So this is not with electrodes or something. This is a simple, through the quantum sensor, you're sending information. I mean, this is most of the times people don't really get how this works and what stands behind it. But basically, imagine it's a negative example, but maybe I do a positive example now. Negative is always non-zero, so not very healthy. So positive example would be you meet your girlfriend or your girlfriend meets you, and then you go to your girlfriend and you propose to her. You say, do you want to marry me? And from one moment to the other, immediately her complete energy changes. Maybe she cries, maybe she laughs, maybe she hugs you immediately. So it's just one word or one sentence you say, and it changes everything. And that's how the Heal Advisor Analyze app also works with the vibration part, with the sending part. So it's just a few words, but you send it to the right address. You send it to the address of your field in the information field, and then you get the positive feedback. So that's actually what the Heal Advisor Analyze app is all about.
That is so fascinating. Now, when you're using the Healy, is it required that you have the straps on? Do you have to use it all the time with the straps, or is there some point where you can be in a non-local place, like in another room or something like that?
I mean, that's a very difficult question, actually, because it's something you really, you're not able to quantify so easy. So basically, if you use the electrodes of whatever kind, then you're applying microcurrent, and the microcurrent with a special frequency. So what you're doing, you're feeding your body basically on a level he actually understands, or it actually understands, because all your body is like a current flowing through your body all the time. So I always bring the example. I had magnetism in medicine also in my studies, and there with your gradiometer right above your heart, you can actually measure your heartbeat and your ECG with the magnetic field. So there's so much current flowing through your heart that you actually can measure the magnetic field. So, and this current is of course not so big, it's very, very tiny, it's microcurrent. And at this space, basically this microcurrent, we are using the Healy to communicate, of course, with your body in the same way. So we are feeding the microcurrent, so it gives energy and so on. And of course, we are feeding the information of the frequency to your body. So that's a very direct, very physical act. Of course, you also have the information act or information part of this. So if you have a generator inside, it generates the frequency, and of course it has a small magnetic field also. So if you carry your Healy near to you and just the program is running, you have no electrodes, of course you have the magnetic field, of course you have the information of it. So you have the information part of the frequencies. So that's also something that has an effect. So that's why it's not easy to answer the question, can I use it with electrodes, without electrodes? So what's the right thing to do? Because everything has a different part and everything has a different effect on you.
I see. Okay. So one of the scenarios that has been asked is for practitioners to use to buy the resonance version. From what I've gathered from what you just said, it's important for their client to be present in the room for the first initial use. Is that correct?
So basically, that's also a question of focus. So if you have a very advanced practitioner, he or she knows her patient. So when practitioners, very advanced practitioners, when they think about their patient, they know exactly who it is. They know exactly what to do, and they have a very good link to the patient. You know, if someone in all religions, you pray for someone. And if you pray for someone, you actually have a very, very distinct knowledge who this person is. And that's the same with the resonance. So if you have the date and the name of the person, that's usually enough. So you put it in the client profile and you have all the information there. And then you can do an analysis actually for this patient, for this client in the field. So that's what's possible. But of course, it depends on your focus. When you're a good practitioner, you know this name, you know the person, you can imagine the person, and then you can actually do an analysis for this person. To make it more easy for the practitioner and to establish a more sophisticated link with the information field, you put more data. You collect the vibration of the patient, so the patient holds or the client holds the Healy, and then you record the vibration of the client. And of course, you also have the date of birth, and you have your picture, and so on. So more information establish a more stable link to this patient, to this client. So, and that's what the resonance or the Healy Advisor Analyze app is about. So if you do an analysis for your client, then you have to focus on this client and have to focus on what you want to accomplish. So what do you want to accomplish? So give a brief example. So if you have a knee that hurts, so some say, okay, my focus is knee pain away. But that's not a positive focus. So you want to imagine when the knee is already in a good state again. So what your focus is, my knee is very flexible and strong. So that's your focus, and that should be the focus of the one who uses the Healy Advisor Analyze app. So you always have a positive focus on the goal state, basically, and then you do an analysis, keeping in mind which is the analysis, so which client is the analysis for. And then you actually get the best results.
This is so exciting. This is really, really so exciting for all the practitioners. But I'm immediately thinking about family. You know, for families to buy a Healy Resonance, and then they can just in person use it with each of the members of the family who are in the household. But then they can also, because they know the other family members so well, they can bring that into focus and be really, really focused on that family member non-locally, and maybe even in another country or something like that. And then that way, through this link and this connection, so many people can be benefited by the purchase of a Healy.
Yeah, that's actually very true, because that was initially when we developed the Healy Advisor Analyze app, that was the goal. So we said, okay, we have a lots of practitioners in our network, and they need a tool to be able to use it anytime, anywhere of the world for any of their clients. And that was the goal. So that's why it's a little more complex, but actually that was the root. And we have also another module which is more complex and only for practitioners. And that's not for normal people to use. So yeah, you have the point.
That's so fantastic. Okay, so there are some scenarios where the Healy, there's some caution around using the Healy, like if someone has a pacemaker, or if they're using immunosuppressants, or if they're using like going through some cancer therapies. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, and what precautions we need to have?
So basically, there's a contraindication in the instructions for use. So neatly read this, because that's the most important thing. So you're right, with pacemakers, of course, you don't use any electrodes on open wounds or something like that. Also, if you have a skin that's from a radiotherapeutic treatment and so on, don't use the electrodes on the skin if it's still sensitive and so on. So that are the basis of the contraindications. So simply read the part in the instructions for use and you're good to go. Also with defibrillators, it's also not advisable to use microcurrent applications. So that's basically all you need to know. Read the instructions for use and advise everyone before he uses the Healy, read the instructions, read the contraindications. They're just a few sentences, but you can do nothing more than advise every time. Please, for first use, read it.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I'm understanding is the microcurrents, and when you're talking about microcurrents, that is actually the wrist straps, and that is where there's this direct connection to the Healy. However, when the Healy works in this multidimensional way, not connected to you, is it still contraindicated? Because then it's working in a different dimension, so to speak.
No. Then actually you can use it whenever, wherever you want. So with a frequency program without electrodes, you just using basically the information part of the frequencies. Then you can use it with everything. So there's no contraindications in this one. Also the Heal Advisor Resonance app, you can also use it with anything. So there's no contraindication. But if you're using the microcurrent with electrodes, then you need to take care of the contraindications.
We just had a really cool question just pop in here, and one that has actually been on my mind as well, and that has to do with specific medications, like say diabetic medications, because the Healy, from what I understand, is going to improve all functionality. It improves nutrient absorbency, and because it's doing that, it's actually improving hormone sensitivity. Is that correct? And so basically you have to be really careful when you're using things like diabetic meds.
Yeah, so basically, I would put it a little more general. So you have to understand the concept of microcurrent and frequencies. So basically, what you do with the microcurrent, you communicate on the level of the body, and with the frequencies, you're getting information into the body. And this information has effects. And depending on what state you are, so basically, if you're a multimorbid person that has lots of diseases, then a little information can be too much. So you always have to take into account, how is this person you are looking at, what is the actual state? And if you have a very healthy person, you know it, those people, nothing brings them down. You can do whatever you want. They work all day, they work all night, and next day they stand up and are fit again and go for the next thing. And so if you give them lots of frequency programs, they basically can handle the information, because every frequency, it makes a change in your body, and depending on what change it is, it costs your body, the body has to absorb this information and deal with it and incorporate it and get the effects out of it. And if you have someone who's very ill and so on, this information can be too much. Or if you have like this diabetic stuff, it's also the same. If those frequencies would change something in your state of your body, then of course you have to be very careful with your meds for diabetes. So you have to watch them closely. So never use Healy in combination when you have a heavy drug basically, or a heavy disease, and do it with no conscious. So you always need to take very neat care to look, do I need more of this medication? Do I need less? Or what is the state of my body? How is my body reacting to this? So that's what our practitioners had as an outcome. They are supervising those patients very, very in short amounts of time to see how their medication is. Is it too high? Is it too low? So this is the most important thing. You need to watch the medications if you're doing frequency applications.
That's tremendous. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, I've been in the nutrition world for 25 years, and I look at every single nutrient as a piece of information that the body needs to deal with. And so if you put in too much good information in, you can actually cause a detox, and you can cause, too much of a ripple effect into the body. So it's taking things one gentle step at a time. Now, Healy recommends that if you have epilepsy or if you have these heavy medications, et cetera, that you should actually talk to your doctor. What would you recommend that people take to their doctor? What would they say to their doctor? Because this is a technology that is so far advanced. What do we say to the medical community.
So basically, if you have epilepsy, so that's actually a contraindication. So you have to be careful with this one. So there you simply have to talk to your doctor. So I'm using microcurrent frequency application. So basically, what kind of epilepsy do you have? So is it just a very, very mild one which never comes to place, or is it something that's easily triggered? So there you can't do some advice, nothing like that. You have to talk to your doctor, your practitioner, whoever you're consulting, and show him the device or her the device, and ask if that makes sense, because that no one can actually generalize. That's impossible.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so in terms of using the Healy with as a system or an aid in getting rid of parasites, detoxing specific organs, is there a way that the Healy works along those lines?
So basically, when you do something like that, you always need to consult the practitioner. So there's those are very how do you say major things. So in those cases, it's not like, yeah, I'm my own doctor and I have some illnesses or some parasites or something, and I go ahead and do whatever I think is best. So there you always should consult a practitioner or a doctor and do it together, because you can't see your own blind spots basically. So what does a practitioner, what does a doctor do? A doctor doesn't heal you. It's not like, yeah, you're healed and that's it. The healing you do yourself. But the doctor finds the blind spots and guides you through your healing process. So that's what needs to be done. And in this case, I always recommend you need to go to a doctor and do it with him together. Because this is not something that comes out of thin air and goes like thin air again. So you always need the guidance. So do it together with your practitioner. Don't go experimenting on yourself on these things.
It makes a lot of sense, because when you're working with parasites or any kind of detoxing, there can be a ripple effect from that. Now, in the development of the Healy and in TimeWaver, there are thousands of practitioners around the world that are working with Nunanina. So are you talking about those practitioners that we can actually link in with them, and then they can advise us and take us through the different programs and the surrounding things that we need to do to support the best result with the Healy?
Yeah, actually both. So we have this practitioner network. So they are very experienced with the TimeWaver frequency. So they had a lot of clients and did a lot of applications. But also a normal practitioner who simply, or a doctor who simply watches your vital signals basically. So there are things that are very easy, like blood pressure and so on, all those things that need to be looked at in a certain time span, and that can do any doctor, any practitioner is able to do that, to see what changes for you and what changes you experience. And if you want more let's say frequency related and Healy related advice, then you go to the therapist practitioners we have in our network and can ask them for advice.
Absolutely. And to me, it really sounds like the resonance feedback mechanism is going to see where you need to build up in your body, to build up capacity, to build up strength. And it's going to tell you step by step by step where you need to go and which programs you need to run, right? So that's essentially the beauty of the resonance, is that any person in the family, they're all going to have different kinds of programs because they're going to be in resonance with different kinds of frequencies, correct?
Exactly. So that's really the beauty of the resonance, because you actually can analyze for every client, so for every family member and so on, you can analyze exactly what he or she needs in that moment, and then you can immediately apply it. So that's a very, how do you call, basically you make the invisible visible, so your unconscious your unconscious information gets conscious, and then you can actually use it. So that's basically what stands behind it.
Awesome. So in essence, take us through a little bit in terms of frequency of use. Would you use the resonance like morning and evening, or can you actually use this device all day? Is there overdoing it, or because the resonance will always kind of gauge exactly where you're at? So what do you recommend for that?
So basically for the frequency programs, we have a very nice first steps flyer. So I don't know if you know it yet, so that it's called First Steps, and there you see what are the first steps with your Healy, and you also get the advice how to use it basically. So what we advise is to do maximum of 3 programs a day, so that you actually can handle all the information. And if you're in a bad state, if you're multimorbid, maybe it's just 2 a week. So you always have to use it and see the effect and see what does it change for you, because you have to absorb the information and give your body the chance to actually get the changes going. So that's very important. Of course, you have to drink a lot of water. So that is always very essential, because if you have a lot of change in your body, your metabolism is very active, and then of course you need a lot of water to get things going in your body. So that's very, very important. You always drink good, clean water. So no bubble water or with limo or something like that. No sugar water. Real, clean, good water. And together with the frequency programs, 1 liter or a few cups for every frequency program. That's enough. But you need to get the combination going. And of course, since you are bringing electrons in the body through the microcurrent, you always need to take care that you're leveled, which means you go barefoot outside and just do some earthing, so that your electrons are exchanged, so that your body is not overwhelmed with electrodes or has too less electrodes. So fresh water, then earthing, and then of course you need the rest. You need you can use Healy everywhere and at every place, and if you're doing sports and so on, that's perfectly fine. But if you're not feeling healthy, then rest and do your programs. Not do something, run around and do the programs. Give your body the chance to get most out of it. You know what I mean? You just give your body some rest, give them your body some frequencies, give him or give your body the chance to get the changes going. So that's very important. And of course, if you are, how do you call it? If you are able to, see the next day or see after, it's not from the first day, it's just after maybe 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. I think basically about 3 weeks, you feel actually how it changes. So what the effect is, and just learn to feel again, you know what I mean? Your body tells you everything. You just need to hear what he tells you or what your body tells you. And that's what you should learn. So if you use Healy, learn to listen to your body, learn what the effect is, and learn how to interpret it. And then you can see, okay, do I need maybe 1 program? Do I need another program? Or do an analysis and see what other programs my unconsciousness basically recommends for me. So that's something you really need to get a feeling for it. You know what I mean? So it's nothing that can be taught. So everything that can be taught is on this First Steps flyer. But you have to get your intuitive part going to actually get the most out of it.
It's such a beautiful answer. It's excellent. Yes. The biggest thing that I actually see happening here with the Healy is that it is actually connecting people back into their soul, their heart, their bodies, and really listening to what's going on. And so, that's a process in my 25-year career. It's like I start out with simple shifts. There's like 2 or 3 things, and then let's see what your body feeds back to us and what your results are. Is it going to create some kind of detox, or is it going to increase your energy, or all of these different kinds of things? The other thing that the Healy has been recorded is that, and I've heard on different webinars, is that there is an increase in nutrient absorbency and post-exercise recovery. Can you take us into that information and the science behind that?
So basically, it's about the Healy Advisor app, and Healy Advisor app has a module that's called Digital Nutrition. And digital nutrition, the philosophy or the principle behind it is basically the first thing you need to have to get the nutritions in your body is you need to eat right. So that's something that the Healy Advisor app actually provides. So it makes does a survey and also gets your issues and so on. And out of it deducts basically the right food, nutrition, and that's what needs to be first, of course. First, there needs to be the nutrition, so you have to eat something to be able to absorb something out of it. It's very simple, but people tend to fall into the trap of the food industry, which tells them, drink cola, eat chocolate, and then everything is good. Just eat a lot of it, so we earn a lot of money. But that only makes sense for them, not for the health of your body. So you first have to eat right. And then we have special frequency programs that have resonance frequencies for special things. So for vitamins or maybe mixtures, we have also 84 different mixtures where you have different nutritions or resonance frequencies for different nutritions and minerals and so on. And the combination of the right food with those frequencies make the absorption of those nutrients which actually your body needs very good. So that's the sense behind digital nutrition. That's the sense behind the resonance frequencies for those things, to get your body to absorb, first to find the right nutrition and then to stimulate the absorption.
Okay, I see. Now, does it when the frequencies are being put in, is it like you need vitamin A or vitamin B or vitamin C? Does it put in that specific frequency and therefore you need less of that particular nutrient? Or does it increase the absorbency of that nutrient and make it more effective? Or both?
No, it increased the absorbance. So it's not something that something comes out of thin air. That doesn't make any sense. So there's no frequencies that make such a vitamin A out of thin air. So it's always the combination. So if you have the right food and then the resonance frequency, your absorption gets better. So that's what stands behind it. So I always do the example of the leaky gut syndrome. So if you have leaky gut syndromes, basically your body is not able to absorb the nutrients like they should be, and that's something it makes it easy to understand that not only the nutrition is important, but then also how good your body absorbs something. So then if you have the combination, then your body actually works like it should be.
Fantastic. As a nutritionist of 25 years, I have so many more questions about that, but we have lots pouring in here and lots that have come in prior to our call. I'm going to jump over to another topic, and that has to do with brain trauma or people who are in recovery after surgery and things like that. Is the Healy advised during those times or less, or can it overload the brain? Take us into that a little bit.
And with surgery, basically you have some wound healing and such things going on. So there are, how do you call it? There's good feedback on this one that you can, support your body to get to focus your energy to get faster through processes if you have operations and so on. So that's something that's actually is known. What was the second question?
Well, with something like brain trauma, like after, especially when you're dealing with something like the central nervous system and the brain, how does the Healy work with that, especially right afterwards or after a stroke or things like that?
Yeah, there you really have to be careful. So that's nothing you can, and I wouldn't advise anyone to use without a practitioner or a therapist who actually supervises this one. So of course you have effects, but how do you call it? It always needs to be in the supervision of a therapist. So there, if you have such serious things, you can of course use additional help from Healy, but you need to be under supervision. So there, I always advise, yeah, take the help you actually are needed, or which the help that's needed, because there is how do you call it? You can't, yeah, know yourself, the difference which you're going through, because that's a really severe thing that happens to you, and you can't interpret the things that are happening to you. So you always need a second person that advanced, like a therapist, to help you interpret what's right or wrong. You know what I mean? So what happens to you, and then you always need the combination. So there, only under supervision of someone who actually knows or sees what's happening to you, and how your body and your mind is changing.
Yes, absolutely. Well, with Nunanina's network of thousands of practitioners, there must be some protocols and things like that that are within that group for sure. And so there is definitely a way to reach out to one of those practitioners and gain that knowledge. So if you're a practitioner and you have clients that you're working with, then you can link in with that group. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, that's the way it is. So we have our medical or advisory board, and those are specialists in their fields. And you can all there's also yeah, we are advancing this medical advisory board by more and more people to get all the knowledge from the different sites, basically. So that's what TimeWaver also did. So in TimeWaver, there are different modules, and those different modules are usually based on the knowledge of on the knowledge of outstanding practitioners. So they have a lot of knowledge in a very yeah, let's say, narrow point. For example, homeopathy or traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, it's a broad thing, but it's compared to all the treatments that are out there, it's just a small part. But those small parts, we then made two modules to use this small part out of it. And that's what we're doing with Healy also. So we have practitioners that are specialized in special parts of treating and healing and so on. And this knowledge we try to incorporate, if we not already did, more and more into Healy and into Healy programs.
So it's just going to keep on getting better.
That's yes, awesome. Exactly. So that's basically the bottom line.
It's just going to get better and better from here on in. Okay, big topic that's on everybody's mind is 5G. So much is spinning around the world and a lot of talk on that. Can you take us into how the team at Healy are working with frequencies and how it works with our body to be able to take us out of that frequency range or protect us from it? How does that work?
So actually, we are working on this one. So we are working on a combination of a base frequency and another overlaid frequency to basically get the 5G, yeah, to be less harmful. Let's say it like that. But that's still in development. So that's still coming.
Well, the way that I look at it is that 5G is a major influx of stress on the body. So it's kind of like something like if you're an alcoholic and you're putting all of this alcohol in the body is under a lot of stress. So the Healy will come in with the resonance and will see which areas are right for you and build up the strength and build up the capacity of the body. Is that correct?
So basically what you always have is that Healy actually analyzes the frequencies. So you always have the quantum sensor analyzing the right frequency. So you're completely right. If your body is under a lot of stress, and especially with 5G and other electromagnetic things that the body is not used to, then of course the frequencies you analyze are there to basically counteract those things. So But what you always need to take into account, so if you have a lot of stress, of course, all the relax programs and all the things that Healy offers you, you should use. If you know you're exposed a lot, then you counteract basically yourself by using those programs. So you're using those programs also very consciously. So consciously means not next to a 5G station, but at home without any wireless devices on and so on, and just in a relaxed space, and then you get your body the chance to regenerate. So you have to combine basically common sense with frequency applications, and then you get the most out of it. So even if you don't, I mean, I'm not a fan of all those people that say, yeah, we have the anti-5G something that helps you. There's nothing like that. It's always a combination of common sense and getting your body in a state where it actually can withstand more stress.
That makes a lot of sense. So this actually brings up another topic, and that is that there are so many frequencies bombarding us, from radio waves to the electrical system that's around us all the time, to the 5G and all the different EMFs and Bluetooth and things like that. Is it best for us to just turn off Bluetooth, turn off the Wi-Fi, to basically quieten the energy of the space to be able to have the best interaction with the Healy? Or does the Healy work despite all of that noise going on?
I mean, Healy, of course, works despite of all that noise going on, but the question is what you want. So if you're actually doing an energy program or something, then it doesn't make sense to quiet down everything, because you're in a stressful and energy mood anyway. But if you want to relax and get come down from the stressful day, then of course it makes sense to shut everything down and give your body the chance to actually be able to relax. So that makes the most sense.
That's awesome. So other frequencies, for instance, the information that's coming, piggybacking on all of those waveforms of energy, they can't come in and piggyback onto the waveforms and the frequencies of Healy, right? Because it's operating on a different dimension, if I understand correctly.
So you mean that the frequencies, the bad frequencies, are overlaying, you mean?
Yeah, so it's almost like you have one frequency which is coming in from one radio station, another frequency which is coming in from Bluetooth, another one that's coming in from the electrical frequencies, and they piggyback on the frequencies of the Healy. That's not possible, right?
No. From an electrical point of view, that doesn't make sense, because also the Healy as a medical product, everything is neatly, how do we call it? We have an electromagnetic safety and electrical safety, so everything is basically very neatly designed to not make it possible that anything interferes with it. Awesome. And of course, you can also start your Healy program, adjust the intensity, and then switch off the Healy app. So no Bluetooth connection is needed, just the right LED needs to be blinking, then you know the program is running. So you have no Bluetooth, nothing. So this is the best way to use your Healy. So just choose your program, adjust the intensity that you slightly feel the current, because then there's a very narrow window. So if you don't feel it at all, it might be okay. But if you feel it slightly, you have the best effect. If you feel it hard, so it's really shaking your hands or something like that, then it's too much. So so basically, you have to imagine like your body. You don't feel current going through your body, although it's going through your body. And that's the same. You don't really feel it, so it's just a slight thing which you should feel, that you know it's enough and not too much. And then you have the best effect out of it.
Excellent. Now that brings up a thought and a question from one of our team members. When you have the electrical current running into your body, does that work in a square wave form? What are the different kinds of waveforms that it's using?
Basically, it's a square waveform, I think 99% of the time, because you have those, how do you call it? In German, it's Oberwelle. So those additional, wait a second, I just look it up. Um, Top waves, harmonic waves, exactly. That was so. If you have a square signal, then you always have the harmonic waves, because the change is so rapid that you have the harmonic waves that are going with it. So then you have the best effect out of it.
Excellent. Okay, what about sawtooth wave? I've just heard these. I'm not technically aware of how that works, but I've been asked, what about sawtooth? What about the different waveforms? Are those
No,
other
so
than square wave?
basically, I mean, that's a sometimes philosophical thing that people are talking. So yeah, I have the best experience out of this and that and so on. But basically, what you have to take into account is the first thing is the microcurrent itself. So you have microcurrent, which gets electrodes going. So there you have an effect. The second thing you have is the frequency itself. So the frequency has also an information effect. So there you have also an effect. And only the third thing might be the waveform you're using, and it has a minor effect. And since the square wave has those harmonic waves in a higher amount than all the other waveforms, we are simply using just those square waveforms.
Awesome. Now, I'm sure a lot of us want to know what square wave means, that I even brought that question up. Can you go into that a little bit, like unpack that?
Basically, square wave is if you go, if this is the zero line and you go like this and up and then down, and so here you have a square basically. Is that understandable from my finger?
Yeah.
So I can make a small drawing, but that's basically a square wave. So it's very rapid upwards, then 90-degree and 90-degree again downwards, and then 90-degree and 90-degree upwards. So it's a very sharp, very fast signal, let's put it like that, and that's a square wave. The other would be a sine wave, that would be a very harmonic thing, or the sawtooth would be like that. But to get basically a signal that's rapidly up 90 degrees and rapidly down, so there you get those harmonic waves going.
Okay, so in other words, the square wave, it sounds like it goes on, off, that kind of idea. And if it's sine, it just keeps on. It's kind of like a droning sound, so to speak, which would be better, or they both are necessary.
They have both different effects, but and it's basically like you said, on off makes basically describes it somehow quite good. A square wave. With a sine wave, you don't have those harmonic waves going on. So the on off makes the harmonic waves, so extra waves that are multiplies of the waveform basically. So that's of the frequency. That's what's going on with those.
Okay. All right. We're going to jump off of that technical stuff. That was just one of the awesome questions that came up. Thank you for that. Now, what about post-stroke, or, all the pain that people feel? I think that pain is really one of the things that so many people feel out there, whether it's body pain, head pain, post-stroke, headaches, things like that. How does the Healy work with?
Yeah, pain is basically, that's a funny thing that you bring it up right now, because we are doing medical certifications of Healy like all over the world: Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, and Indonesia, and so on and so on. And the one indication that has such a good study base than no other indication is pain. So pain treatment with Healy is basically what you can certify everywhere in the world, where we have the most studies about. So no matter what pain you have, there's a good chance that Healy can either actually get rid of it or just reduces the pain. So there, Healy, you can use it, not say day and night, but I mean, I myself had one incident, so I use Healy very rarely because I feel very good all the time. So I always use it if I'm really feeling sick or I'm feeling down or something like that. Then I get out my Healy and then I say, okay, let's go do something. And I once did like badminton playing after like 50 years or something, and then I stepped to the side and said, yeah, that foot hurts. Maybe it hurts, but as a man does, I kept on playing, and then I was lying in my bed, and I never couldn't sleep because of pain. That was the first time in my life I couldn't sleep because of pain. So I lied there, and then I said, okay, I stand up, and then I was reworking instructions for use for TimeWaver frequency for a few hours and applying my Healy with different kinds of pain programs. And after this, after I think 1.5 hours of instructions for use, I was really tired. I went to bed and I said, okay, hopefully I can sleep. And then I actually could sleep. And I stood up the next day, and then I got with my foot very, very carefully on the floor. And funny thing was, I didn't feel anything. So that is also something our practitioners are bringing back to me. If you have a acute pain thing going on, so just a few hours ago, and then immediately apply some frequencies or immediately apply Healy pain programs, then actually it has a much better effect than applying it a day later or something like that. So that you actually can give out to the field and to everyone that has a pain incident which is acute, use Healy immediately, because that makes a difference.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's, I know of a lot of people that have headaches on an ongoing basis, or some pain in some part of the body. So clearly, it is like the pain is actually a signal from the body. So Healy is going to get in there. The resonance is going to be able to provide you with the information to offload the stresses everywhere else in the body, so that the body can actually address the pain. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, it's not so simple, since the body, I mean, you have millions and millions of cells which actually do millions and millions of different things every second. So it's you can't break it down like okay, you're doing this and doing that. I think you just need to take into account that the microcurrent basically gives energy in, and the frequency gives the information in. And this combination actually gets your cells going, gets the communication going. And to explain it on a easy level, I think it's impossible, because it's too complex. But I think if you just take into account that those things actually come together and do the effect, I think that's the main thing you need to know.
And it goes back to one of your previous answers, where when you're using the Healy on a regular basis, you're going to get to know your body more. And so you're going to know from one day to the next different requirements. You have the Healy nutritional program, which is going to tell you that you're short on magnesium, for instance, or you're short on electrolytes, or you're dehydrated, or things like that. So it is with daily use, you're going to get really, really tuned into your body. And the Healy resonance is going to be one of those ways for you to learn, and maybe for the first time in your life, truly listen to your body.
Exactly. So that actually is the goal. So one thing that we have envisioned when we created Healy is that you actually take your health, your responsibility back into your own hand. So you're your own master, you're your own healer. So that's very important. And the second thing is that what you actually said, that you actually know that there's something inside you which knows more than you can think with your mind. So it's your intuition. I mean, everyone knows the word intuition. You might also know the word subconsciousness, collective consciousness, unconsciousness, and all those things, or kasha, chronic information field. It's all the same thing. It's basically the information that you can access if you are sleeping. So when you sleep, your mind shuts down, your very smart head basically shuts down, and you get connected to your source again. And when you're connected to your source again, you have actually all the information that your mind wouldn't be able to handle. So to get this connection back, so that's something that Healy can basically lead the way.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have a few more minutes. Do we have you on for at least another half hour?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. One of the questions that came up is, if you own a resonance and someone else owns a gold, are you able to do a test for them and then send them one of the frequencies, or do they have to actually have it in their package on their device?
So if you don't have it on your device, you can of course use it. You can have the resonance. Someone can have the resonance and search, for example, which gold program is the best for you. And
Right.
then you can actually tell him, okay, according to my result here, the best program for you is pure, and then he or she can use it. So that's possible. But if you, of course, get search, for example, in bioenergetic balance programs or something like that, then if the other one doesn't have this program, then of course you can't use it.
They can't use it. Okay. Thank you. That's excellent. All right. So we're having a few more questions coming in here. I'm keeping an eye on that and my other questions I've got on the go. Does Healy help with Parkinson's patients?
Actually, I know of studies that are with Parkinson based on the improvement of the, how do you call it, your brain function, or I don't know, wait a second, just memory, exactly, very easy. So to improve your memory, but those studies didn't make it in the clinical evaluation. So that are just a few, how do you call it? Not peer-reviewed studies. So because of this, you can't make any claims there. So that's not possible. So because it's not a part of the 510K. So I know of studies that are there. You can look them up, but no claims to be made there.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that's a pretty hardcore rule with myself is no claims at all.
Yeah.
It's like let the Healy and let the experience speak for itself, right?
Yeah, that's a very funny thing that you're saying this, because in Europe they are selling Healy with a very funny system, not funny but efficient, I would say. So they say buy 3 Healys, give it to 3 people, and see if they buy it also. And it works. It works perfectly. If you have the Healy and you experience what it can do, then people simply buy it because they're convinced. So that's exactly what you just said they're doing in Europe all the time.
Absolutely. We just got to let it speak for itself. Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump into the watch. People are using the watch. It has a range of things that it's tracking. Take us into that. Take us into its functionality. Is it water resistant? What are the things that we can experience from the watch?
Yeah, from the watch, so it's water resistant, but just I think for half a meter below water, a short time. So it's not like deep diving with it and then it holds forever. So and even if people say that, most of the times I wouldn't test it because it's quite dangerous. So what the watch is, so basically we came up with Healy. Healy's, I think, yeah. You really need to explain Healy. That's why we are using social selling network, because you actually have to explain something to actually understand it, to actually get the information transferred in a way that actually someone can absorb it. So for the watch, we said, okay, know your body. Know your body. So know all the information your body can give you. Know your pulse, know your heart rate. I mean, it's the same. Measure your bioenergetic rhythm, and then calculate an HRV out of it, so heart rate variability, and get all the information your body can give you on a physical level. I mean, we have the information level that you can analyze, but with the watch, you get on a physical level. So you get all the information, you get the sleep data, and so on. And out of this measurements, we are then basically deducting those 6 parameters, and out of those 6 parameters, then we can do recommendations for Healy programs. So that's the first step, and that's what we implemented right now. The next step, of course, will be to get all this information in the Heal Advisor cloud and actually get how do you call it? Analyzed more, and with the AI we are building up and with the amount of data we are building up, the AI gets smarter and smarter and smarter all the time. So what you get is the best information or the best feedback for you. So that will be the next step that we will accomplish until the end of the year. So all the information we get into the cloud, we can analyze them for the specific user of the watch, and then feed back the information that might be useful for him in regards to Healy program recommendations. And that's basically a self-learning system that builds up with a number of users. So it gets more and more and better and better and better over time. So that's basically what the watch does. It measures everything, gives you recommendations. If you have the Healy Watch Connector module subscription, then you get all the recommendations. And on time, so on long term, we are getting all the informations processed for you and then getting all the informations deducted to get the best out of it, basically.
Very cool. So I have a couple of questions that actually just came out of that. So it is analyzing a variety of physical parameters. And from those physical parameters, it's going to give you recommendations. Is it therefore acting like the resonance software in a different way from the physical perspective? Giving you advice on which kind of programs you need to run to work on those physical parameters?
Yeah, on this level you can compare it. I mean, the one is the very non-physical, and the one is the very physical part of it.
Right.
And basically, you're completely right. You get recommendations out of both parts. So one is simply body-driven, and one is information-driven. So you're completely right.
Fantastic. So is it possible that you're using your watch and you have a goal level Healy, and it's going to recommend a program that you don't have on your goal, that you'd have to actually upgrade your Healy to be able to access that level program? Is that true?
You can choose your edition. So you can choose your edition in the Healy Watch app, and based on the edition, you get recommendations. So if you don't have Healy Resonance, then you simply choose Healy Gold, and then it gives you Healy Gold recommendations. Because in the Gold cycle is basically everything is inside in the Gold cycle. You can basically address everything with those 7 programs. But of course, if you want to go a little more specific or get, as I said, this logic step where you have the special frequencies inside, then of course it makes sense to have a resonance, because then you get more recommendations that are more specific.
Right. Okay. So the two in harmony are going to create this really incredible biofeedback system. One is from the physical perspective and one is from the information field. So one of the questions that came up is the watch is feeding back the information into the cloud. Same thing with the resonance, right? So basically our health information is accumulating on a worldwide level from everybody's information, and that's actually what's making it smarter and smarter and smarter. Is that correct?
Exactly. So that's what we are building up. So now you simply have all the functionalities the app have right now, and the cloud is building up. So we took a little more time to build this up because of security measures. So we are globally building a security algorithms that actually make your data 100% safe. So since everything gets a little more complex to data protection and security, and since we have such a large network, so it's worldwide, it's not like, you do a small thing on a small server in Germany or something, or in the US, and no, you have to really get it globally going and globally safe. So that is neatly designed with top engineers right now. And then when this is done and it's 100% safe, then we are feeding the data in, and then you get the feedback. So that's until the end of the year. I think we have this completely done, and then you can all basically benefit.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a real community effort. Everyone's really contributing, everybody's improving their lives, and that's all feeding back into the system. So one of the other questions that came up from one of our team members is, when and you said this earlier, but I just want to confirm. So when you have the watch on, it's not continuously like a GPS system connected constantly to the cloud. You only need to turn it on to get information or maybe upload information, something like that, or can you opt out? Those various privacy type questions.
Basically, it's you have the watch, and the watch has its firmware, and the firmware has some how do we call it, a memory inside, and it collects your data, and when you connect to the watch app, then it feeds the data back to the watch, and then in the next step we will implement that this data is then feed to the cloud, and then of course So that's what we already implemented for the Heal Advisor Analyze app. If you lose your smartphone, if you lose your account or whatever, I mean, you don't have to lose your master key. You mustn't lose your master key because you need it to get your data. Because in the Heal Advisor Analyze app, it's so highly encrypted that we can't read it. No one can read it. Just you with your master key can read it. So that's what we implemented there, and that's what we do with all the other apps then also. So this master key enables you to get all your data, and from the app it's synced to the cloud. And if you lose your app and everything, it's synced back from the cloud, whatever you need. So that's how the system works.
Okay, and the information that's with Healy, that is Healy's, like it's basically the intellectual property of the company. It's not selling our data to other companies out there, right?
No,
it's basically completely private.
Yeah, that's what I meant with this data protection things. So one of my most precious goals is to make this information of our users the most protected there is. Because I'm sick of Google and Microsoft and all the others, or Facebook, whatever. When you hear some information came out, someone hacked it, whatever. I mean, it's not bad intention of them, but if someone hacks it, I mean, they are not responsible, but it's out there. And I want our information to be unhackable so that everyone's data is 100% safe. So that's our goal, and we not want to sell it to anyone, because you benefit from the system, and we benefit you back by protecting your data and by feeding you back the information you need from your data. So that's how it works. That's how it works for me.
I love hearing that. That's awesome. No one likes those big companies doing whatever they want with gathering our data, like Facebook and stuff like that. So really cool. Awesome. Okay, so the next question that has been keeping on coming up, even for myself, where do we go to find the latest data that's coming out from all of Nunanina's practitioners, the latest studies, even if we can't, just to have resources where we can refer to, because I love that kind of data and would love to know where to go.
So basically what we're doing is in all the Healy world, where everyone meets, so we always bring Nununina, and he always brings the newest stuff with him. So I think that's the best resource and the best connection you can get. So on our big congresses or big shows worldwide, so there you get the newest information, because it's very, how do you call it, difficult to get such new information out in the field, because it always is misinterpreted somehow or over exaggerated or something. You really need to be careful with new information and just bring it out in a small community and then spread it, because everything else is very, very difficult. And so we keep this on a low level, not to get people overexcited.
That's right. Absolutely. But it is available. Like there are places where we can go to and get resources of things that have been released from the past. Like with each of the conferences and with each major development, once it's, and this is Healy specific data, right? It's not something with some other electrical frequency studies, but specifically with Healy.
Yeah, that's what we are building up right now, to make this in a very, how do you say it, easily digestible way available to everyone. So, because since we did, or our practitioners did all kinds of things and have all kinds of clients, and we have a 510K claim out there, so we need to be really careful, especially in the US, not to publish anything that makes people go a little too far.
Absolutely. I agree completely. That's awesome. Okay, so in using the Healy, let's get back to that, because that's what we all want to do. We want to use it. So can you wear the Healy? Like, is there special protocols around it? Like, is it on the outside of the clothing? Is it inside? Can you overheat it? Can you were saying not to use it more than 2 or 3 times in the day, or 2 or 3 programs per day. Take us a little bit more into that personal experience with Healy.
So basically, the only thing you need to take care of is not to put it in the washer. So that's what we get back from people. So it's not working anymore. Why is it not working anymore? Yeah, I put it in the washer, so I think it's broken. So that's what we get. So don't put it in the washer, don't put it into waters. That's the most important thing. So it's not waterproof. I mean, it's hard to get anything waterproof which has plugs in and stuff like that. So that's what you shouldn't do. But from the wearing perspective, you can wear it on your clothes, you can wear it in your pocket. So I most of the times wear it in my pocket, so I can go with the cables anywhere and can still do stuff. So, but there are not no recommendations. But if you use it, make it as comfortable as possible, because every Healy use should be a positive experience, because that makes the positive energy flow in your body, make the body absorb the frequencies in a positive way. So that's the most important thing.
Awesome. Now, for those of us who love going to the gym or exercising outdoors, going for walks, can we wear it while we're exercising? Does it have a benefit to be wearing it at that time, or is there some contraindication?
As far as I know, there's no contraindication on this one. I mean, as I told before, it depends what you want to accomplish. So, if you do some sports programs and so on with Healy, then of course wear it when you do sports. That's perfectly fine. So, don't do a relaxed program if you're doing sports. So that doesn't make sense. But everything else is fine.
Absolutely. Okay, so one of the statistics that I heard come through, I think it was one of the webinars, that it increases post-exercise recovery by, I saw, up to 800%. Can you take us into why that is? Why is it such a huge amount that the Healy increases recovery?
So I mean, that's not a 510K claim, but basically it's the thing that's also in the company presentation. It's with the microcurrent combination with frequencies. So you basically get the cells going to operate more efficiently. Let's put it like that, and that's where all the energy comes from. So that's with some studies there, but that's basically, yeah, let's put it like this. So not a 510K claim. So it gives you energy, but no claiming on this one.
Yeah, it has to be a personal experience for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. There's something called electroporation that I've come across. Like it's actually increasing the amount of oxygen being carried in the blood because there's an electrical current going to the body. It increases the cellular absorption rate quite dramatically because of those currents. But now you're adding on top of that all of the wave frequencies and so forth that feed energy and information into the body to improve the cell functions.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of claiming.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't mean to claim. I was like, I was just trying to unpack the idea a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So basically, that's what is Healy about? I mean, it's a small generator with energy, and this energy is somehow converted into information and energy your body can actually use. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it.
Okay. Awesome. We all learned something. I mean, just in the description there, I recognize that's actually a claim. When you're describing it like that, there is a very specific way to actually describe the way that the Healy. So maybe if you can take a couple minutes and go through how we can explain the Healy to someone new who's never heard it before. How would you explain it?
So basically, imagine a device that's very small, you can carry everywhere, anytime, use anytime, and which actually has a medical certification, is a medical certified grade technical product made in Germany that can address a lot of your, let's say, uncomfortables or discomforts. With a lot of different programs that are actually built up over years by lots of practitioners that actually used it with their clients. I think that's one way to describe Healy.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, that's we always want to hear it from a co-founder and the level of knowledge that you have with it. How would you actually? I think ultimately it's actually getting the Healy into someone's hands. You know, that personal experience. That's going to say way more than you can ever say about it. That's for sure. Yes. Awesome. We are getting so many cool questions coming here. It's one of the things that actually came up is about stress. Like if you're really in a totally stressed out state, using the Healy can actually really temper that down, right? It can really help the body calm itself down and bring you into a parasympathetic state.
Yeah, basically, so that's one of the. I mean, it's somehow it's also related to pain. I mean, if you are in pain, which stress is a pain, then you actually can use programs that counteract this. So then also the stress basically goes down. If you have less pain, you have less stress. So it's a very similar mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are lots of questions about things like cancer, MS, myelitis, autism, things like that, these really critical conditions.
So basically, what you always can say with critical conditions is you need a therapist, you need a doctor to guide you, but Healy can always support you. I mean, lots of diseases, most of them have also pain related. So if you get down the pain and you get your endorphins basically up, so you feel better, then your mood is better, your mood affects your body back, and then you're getting better. So Healy is always there to support you in every way on those critical diseases. But please never advertise something like that. You need a therapist and a doctor, but Healy can always help you. So that's what we also have with our practitioners. They have also very sick people, and they say use your Healy, get some support. But they, of course, do always the treatment that's needed on their side. Because, as I told you, you have your why are you terminally ill or why are you ill? Because you have blind spots in your in your I don't know how to put it. I mean, you have traumatas as a child, as someone did some really nasty things to you or something like that, and that makes you ill afterwards. And those spots you will never be able to see easily. And if you have a therapist to put you to those spots, to actually uncover the things that you covered, because as a child you were not able to handle it, so you needed to bury it deep into your unconsciousness, and to get this out again and to work on those things and get those out of the way, that is a therapist's work, because those blind spots are not easily targeted by someone who's alone out there with his disease.
That's beautifully said. Yes. Well, the Healy is going to give you information. So even with things like joint replacements, post recovery after surgery, all these critical care, really what it is, it's giving you information, and it's going to help the practitioner make even wiser choices in terms of other things that someone can do, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, along with the Healy. It's what we really want to do is we want to create an environment where the Healy can upregulate and really be at its best.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the last point or the second last you said, I think is the most important. So if you get to the background, so what lies, what spiritually, emotionally, or psychologically lies behind the thing you're experiencing, then you get actually, or you get the chance to actually solve it once and for all. And that's what Healy really can help you get to this spot where you can solve it.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the solving actually comes down to really that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And it really comes down to forgiveness. It comes down to living a detached life, like living in detachment with equanimity. There are all these spiritual truths that are ancient that actually the Healy will just literally put it right in front of you. It's like, these are the things that actually are being recorded in your body, and this is what your body is telling you. And there you go. It will enhance your spiritual growth.
Yeah, that's a funny thing you bring that up, because I did all the validating of the Heal Advisor Analyze app. So I did endless analysis of endless databases and always looked at the results. And it always when I looked at the results, sometimes I almost had tears in my eyes, because it was like, yeah, okay, that's hitting the spot so hard. What you have to learn right now it hurts. It hurts. It almost hurts. But it's spot on. And that's that's what always kept me going, even if it's late at night. I mean, I did most of the validations late at night because I had no time in the morning or working all day. But this actually kept me going because I was really growing with Healy, because it gave me so much information back, so much analysis, that I said, okay, that's something that's holding you back right now. That's what's holding the development back right now. And then I said, okay, you have to go inside. You have to solve this problem inside yourself, and then you can go on. And I really solved all those problems to get all those sticks and stones out of the way, basically. And that's something. I mean, that's something nothing, no one else can give you. So it's one piece of machinery, basically, but it's going so into deep of your feelings, of your angers, of your fears, and gives you back a solution. Basically, you just need to grab on it and incorporate it, and then you get to the next step. And that's something that really kept me going.
What you've described is so beautiful. It really puts, it's like you said, the finger right onto the pain point. And because you consciously worked with that and you says, okay, I got to deal with this. And you dealt with it one step at a time. It essentially increased your capacity. Exactly. Spiritual capacity, mental capacity, emotional capacity for the road that lay ahead. Because as a co-founder of Healy, you need the capacity to be able to deal with everything that's going on with Healy now on a worldwide basis. So it kept you from actually burning out your fuse. If you didn't work on those things, you would actually trip up. It would hit you so hard later on, and it's a good thing that Healy brought it up in all that testing. Is that right?
Exactly. So this, actually, you described it spot on. So if I wouldn't have had Healy to work on my problems, basically, I wouldn't, or Healy wouldn't be worldwide like it is now, because you have to be as a being somehow in the middle of in the center, in a how do you call it, in a stable center, to be able to encounter every storm, every wind from every side. It just brings you a little out of balance, but it never gets you completely out of balance. And that's what you described right now. If you're in the center, if you're basically in the deepest of yourself, you're safe in yourself, and you know that nothing can actually happen to you because you are connected to everyone, and everyone has the same goal to basically get connected back to the source and to be in a positive, harmonic way with everyone else. When you're in this center, then nothing can hold you back.
Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. It's one of the statements that I live by. If I want to see something changing out there, I can't get stressed about it. I can't bring that energy field into my body. And I recognize that there's one lesson I've been taught and experienced, is that we are only challenged equal in proportion to what we can handle, and a little bit more. And so what you've just described is the fact that, hey, listen, Healy is going to be a feedback mechanism of tremendous mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. Listen, folks, when we get past the pain, when we get past the dysfunction of the body, when we get the body back into its alignment, think of the capacity of good that we can do in the world. Think of all the things that we can now have the capacity to reach more people, be a leader, step up, and have the capacity to really influence change in this world.
Exactly. So that's what we are aiming for, and that's the only thing that actually can help us, or especially in such times that we are living right now. So these lockdowns and everything, that brings us back to the source, and the sources in ourselves. And when we actually get this source to light, or the light of this source shine out of us, then we are there to actually do some changes worldwide.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Now, one of the functions that I am very excited about is working with the aura, bringing the aura back into balance. It's a perfect moment to actually talk about that.
Yeah, so that's that's a very funny thing because those databases they are sometimes really hurtful, but actually they are spot on. So if you really do the analysis with the aura and read carefully, that I always can always advise everyone who's using it, read carefully what you get as an result there. Read it carefully and really take the time to think twice about it. What does it have to do with you? So that's always the steps. First, you have to read it, then you have to ask yourself, what's in it for me, basically. What does this have to do with me? And then you can send it in the information feedback. You vibrate the information back into the information field, so you consciously absorb it, and then you get the information back, and that keeps things rolling, and that keeps the change going.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, we've had such an amazing hour and a half with you, Dr. Martin. Really, really appreciate it. Beautiful answers, amazing. It's brought so much clarity to me, and I hope it has for all of you, our audience here today and on the replay. Now, I see a few more questions, and I'm going to bring on Sarah and Terry because they've made this possible, and I would love to have you guys come on. So I'm going to have to search through and actually find you to unmute you and bring you on. There was one question which was very intriguing, is that if you have a family that has bought one resonance, and they all have a watch, so how many can they all be connected to the same resonance, to the same single Healy?
So if they all have a watch, so what you need, of course, is if you have a watch, you need the Healy watch, the connector module.
Yeah.
So if you have the connector module, then you have the recommendations. Because of course, if you have a watch, you have your data, and then based on your data, you get the recommendation. So you always need the subscription, but it's sufficient to have one Healy, basically, which has the programs. So you can use it with the Healy. For a family, that's no problem.
Got it. The watch is its own thing, and it's connected physically. It has its own app, so as many people in the family can have that. And then the one resonance can run its programs, and you can add the whole family in through the app into the resonance.
Exactly.
Phenomenal. Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna search through and see, because it's not, we have a lot of people. There we are. Okay. Found you guys right on the spot. Awesome. Sarah and Terry.
Hi.
Unmuted Sarah. Sarah's not unmuting here. What's going on? Let's see here. I'm gonna make you co-host.
Hi there.
There we go.
Hi there.
This call has been made possible because of the two of you. The enormous amount of work that you guys have done in the US, I can't even imagine personally. Like, it's amazing. Everyone here, we have over 450 people on this live call. This is incredible. What a success. And it's all thanks to you too. Thank you.
Well, it was such an amazing call. And what I see Healy really doing is helping to promote and achieve optimum health and optimum physiology. When I first received the device 9 months ago, I had been relegated to obscurity with my health, and I have ameliorated so much in the last 9 months that I'm going towards optimum health, and I'm going to be better than I've ever been before. And it gives you that goal, it gives you that ambition and the opportunity to be able to do so. So that is why I'm so grateful for the Healy, for Dr. Martin, Marcus, for all of them. And thank you, Lars, for today, and Terry as well.
This was fantastic. Sarah, can you go into your story a little bit, because I was just so blown away when I heard it.
Well, I had really, several years ago, I had really been relegated to obscurity with my health. And Terry can attest to this. My speech was very, very bad, very badly affected. my balance. I was walking with a cane and a walker. My coordination was gone. I was a fine arts major at UF and was an excellent artist. I could not draw. I could not write. I had lost so much. I had been diagnosed with a meningioma, and it was just getting worse and worse every year. And I didn't think it was going to get any better. And I found a frequency device that helped me get to the point that I was better. And by the time I received the Healy device, I have been able to regain my voice completely. As you can hear me speak again, there's nothing wrong with my speech. My speech was just horrible, and no cane, no walker. I'm running through the neighborhood, walking, using the energy program. I'm feeling great, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at optimum health. I am going to be at optimum physiology. I am going to be back again like I was when I was a younger woman. So thank you so much.
That's awesome, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. I'm so happy for you. It's real inspiration for all of us.
Well, it's done so much for me. I'm so grateful.
Terry, tell us your story.
Well, I am very grateful. Sarah can attest to this. It's funny how we both had certain physical challenges. I think it was, again, things happen in your life, like you said, Dr. Martin, that cause you to have a reaction or an actual physical manifestation. So I actually ended up with the stress-related physical manifestation, and it was a combination of neuropathy. But my neuropathy was, I had pain. I had lots of pain. It got to the point that I could not sleep at night. I had to sit in a rocking chair. I mean, seriously, I tried everything. I was under every supplement you can name. Nothing was really working. And so I believe in the power of intention. And I sent it out to the universe. I will never forget the night I went outside and I said, God, if you have something that can empower my life and get rid of this pain, I need you to send it to me now. And I was very adamant, and I projected it out. And I had been getting clues about the Healy. Sarah would never tell me the name. Nobody would, not Bob, nothing. But finally, it was funny. Sarah calls me the next day and she says, I got to tell you, there is a Healy, and I've got to share it with you, Terry, because you got to work with me on this. And so I told her, I said, look, I got to get on the phone with Dirk. I need this Healy. He sent it to me, and I'm telling you guys, it was my answer. The universe responded to me because I just ran a few programs. I actually didn't have the resonance at first, and I literally asked myself, what should I do? And it gave me the answer immediately in my mind. And I started using the release and different ones. And in 4 days, I was completely over the pain. No more neuropathy. It's as if I never had it. So I'm like the woman at the well. I'm like the blind that couldn't see. I am so passionate about this Healy. I haven't stopped. And Sarah can attest. I got in. I told her, okay, I'm in. I'm on it. And I will tell you, the field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. Listen, I have the most phenomenal team you've ever seen. I have Keith Hip, and I've got all these people, Jim Britt, and all these people that I'm working with, Lynn, and I mean, David, I'm just telling you, they all came to my call, and we have all worked tirelessly to get this message out. And we're not stopping. We have more miracle stories than you can shake a stick at. We are so grateful. And you know what? I believe in Marcus's vision. I believe in Dirk's vision. I do believe we're going to have 100 million Healys in households here very quickly. In fact, I actually had a premonition before this all started. And I told Sarah, I said, Sarah, this is going to be the biggest paradigm shift we've ever seen in our entire lifetimes. And I said, I see millions of Healys in homes. And so you're here. You're part of the seed that is going to make this possible. Back to you.
Beautifully said. I'm so happy that you are free of that pain and so fast. That must have been absolutely incredible. To live with so much pain that you can't even sleep anymore, and then to have that disappear in 4 days. Obviously, all results are going to be different for everybody else out there. You had a very specific state. You had a very specific intention. You had been taking care of your body. You had been using supplements, different kinds of things. So everyone's going to have a different result. But that is such an amazing, amazing experience. Thank you both.
Thank you. I got to say one more thing, though. I do believe belief has something to do with it, too. Mm-hmm. When you flip that switch, your mind is capable. And so I believe it was a combination of my prayers and the miracle. That is what miracle is. These are God frequencies. In my opinion, these are universal God frequencies. And the miracle is we are energy. Yeah. So how come there is no way we're not going to have an effect, right, Dr. Martin?
Exactly. Yeah. You nailed it.
Wonderful. Okay, we have kept you long enough, Dr. Martin. It's getting late in the evening there. Thank you for taking this time with us and for knocking out so many answers for us. This is going to be so good. I'm going to have to go back through this replay and watch it several times. That was awesome. Thank you, Dr. Martin. Do you have some closing thoughts for us as we round this out?
I think the most important thing is connect to your inner soul, connect to your inner spirit, and connect to your inner energy. And get this energy out. So everyone has his own special gift, something only he can do or she can do in this way, and she or he's the best to do it in this way. And this is a gift. And if you give this gift to the world and get all the gifts back from everyone that have their own gifts, then we are all richer than anyone can ever imagine.
Beautifully said. Thank you, everyone, for being on this call.